Welcome to my unboxing of the Artillery Sidewinder X1. So let's take out the packaging. So what we've got here is a UK power cord, spool holder, toolkit, and somewhere over here is a European plug which we'll throw away. We've got quality control list, setup instructions in German, setup instructions in English, health and safety warning, some more instructions. So yeah, let's continue removing the packaging to reveal the Sidewinder X1. And there are the dual motors on the gantries along with a heated bed. So let's remove the gantry. So just lift this piece of foam up, which will then bring the gantry out. The printer comes in effectively two parts, which you assemble the top to the bottom using the 4 screws provided. In the tool bag you get a USB cable, USB flash drive, you get all the tools and Allen keys, the spanner, some spare V-rollers and nozzles, a set of spare ribbon cables. The next stage is to cut the 2 zip ties that hold this in together. Then carefully drop the gantries into their respective holes and then lift the machine onto its side. So once you've got it laid on its side, the next job is to put in 2 screws here and 2 screws at the bottom to hold the whole thing in place. Let's put them in hand tight, like so, and then gradually tighten them up, being sure to strip any of the threads. So the next stage is to plug in all the connectors. When putting in the ribbon cables, make sure you put them in square and straight and be sure not to damage them. In a lot of the reviews, there was concern that the ribbon cables would be damaged, but luckily that doesn't seem to be the case, and it seems to be a reliable design. Once you have finished putting in the ribbon cables, you then need to attach all connectors to the motors and the end stops. Repeat this process on the other side of the machine. When putting in the cables, make sure you put them in the correct orientation. All the cables go in one direction and they will not go in upside down. Also, don't forget to remove all the masking tape at the same time. The next step is to fit the spool holders. You'll have 2 bits of metal with 2 holes in the back. You'll have some T-slot fitted into the back of the gantry. You'll have 2 Allen key screws on both sides. My advice is to screw in both of them finger tight, get the spool that you plan to use with the machine, and then place the spool on top of it to ensure that it's a good fit. It is really important at this stage to make sure that the spool filament runout sensor is on the correct side of the machine, and to make sure that the spool fits correctly onto the rollers and moves freely. Once the spool holder is assembled, it is now time to plug in the filament runout sensor. Now is the time to remove the protective paper from the bed and the protective plastic on the screen. It is now time to turn on the machine, preheat the bed and the nozzle to start leveling the bed. These settings can be found in the touchscreen menu on the screen. Bed leveling is manual on this machine. I'm sure there's a BL Touch out there to improve this. and I would recommend that upgrade. But if you go into the menu and click on the bed level settings, you can move the head to each corner and the middle of the machine in order to do bed leveling, and turn the dials on each corner with a piece of paper underneath. And you want the paper to just touch and have a slight resistance as you slide it between the nozzle and the bed. This part of the video has been sped up to 2 times speed, but what you're seeing here is the only bed leveling this machine has had since the factory. And as you can see, it's not taking that long to do, considering that it's fresh out of the box and brand new. Personally, I find that the bed leveling system built into this machine is adequate but not excellent. And again, a BL Touch would be a huge benefit, as the auto bed leveling will make it a lot easier, because the bigger the bed, the more likely it is to warp. And auto bed leveling can compensate for any warping within the bed, whereas with manual adjustment it's very hard to get that right. This machine has a Volcano clone hot end, and a couple of YouTube reviews that I found shown that the drag from the filament runout sensor can cause under extrusion issues. So I do not use this on my machines, and I just jam a piece of filament in there to bypass it. The final question is, do I recommend this machine? And the answer is yes. It is currently available on Banggood for under £200 British if you're in the UK. I'll put a link to this in the description. There is a new one called the Sidewinder X2, which I have not tested and have not used. Other YouTubers have reviewed this machine when it came out and it was brand new, and they have found there are a few faults with it, but I haven't looked into it properly, so I can't really make a judgment on that one. But I know the price difference is rather large, with the X2 being around £400 at the time of recording this video. Another thing that is worth mentioning is that the Volcano style hot end is a pain in the ass to take apart if you need to do any maintenance. And finally, the plastic piece which you feed the filament in has a habit of snapping. You can buy aluminium ones off Banggood for under £10. Hope you found this video useful or interesting. Please consider subscribing. Thank you.